Rolex is the most recognized watch brand in the world. Most people assume that protects you. In 2026, it does not. Not with these 8 models. Some lost their resale edge, some aged worse than the trend that launched them, and one is going to surprise you completely. These are the 8 Rolex models you must stop wearing in 2026. Number 8. Explorer 36 Two-Tone. Reference 124273. The Explorer is supposed to be the watch that needs no explanation. Simple dial, clean case, tool watch credibility built over decades. The two-tone version decided all of that was negotiable. Here is what the gold trim conceals. When Rolex introduced reference 124273, they paired the steel Explorer case with yellow gold on the bezel, crown guards, and center bracelet links. On paper, a subtle upgrade. In practice, an identity crisis. The secondary market has been pricing in ever since. The Explorer's entire value proposition is its restraint, the anti-flex Rolex. Adding gold does not elevate it. It undermines the one thing that made it special. Forum threads openly ask why there is no love for reference 124273. Auction results show it trading without sustained premiums, with full-set pre-owned examples sitting readily available below gray market expectations. A week-on-the-wrist review put it plainly. This reference tanks on the secondary market harder than almost any other current Rolex. Enthusiasts call it the cheapest way into a gold Rolex, and not as a compliment. You bought the understated icon. You got the confused compromise. The next model drowned its identity in a color trend that is already running out of road. Number 7. Date. Just 41 mint green dial. References 126334 and 126300. Green dials define the early 2020s. Every brand chased the trend. Rolex leaned in with the mint green date, just 41, and dealers pushed it relentlessly. In 2026, the market is saturated, and the trend has nowhere left to go. Here is what the fresh color conceals. The mint green date just 41 is a standard steel dress watch with a fashionable dial. The movement, case, and bracelet are identical to every other date just 41 configuration. What you pay for, regularly 13,000 to 15,000 euros on the gray market, is the color alone. Chrono24 shows dozens of competing listings at similar price points, which is not what you want to see when it is time to sell. Gray dealers advertised unworn 2025 examples at consistent premiums over comparable configurations. Those premiums exist because fashion drove the purchase, not horological conviction. Fashion-driven purchases have a shelf life. The color is beautiful. The timing of the purchase was not. 3 positions higher sits the same oversaturation problem, but with decades of marketing muscle behind it. Number 6. Date. Just 41 Wimbledon dial. References 126334 and 126331. Slate gray sunburst. Green Roman numerals. Rolex's longest-running sporting partnership on your wrist. In 2026, that recognition is exactly the problem. Here is what the tennis credentials conceal. The Wimbledon name is not official. It is a collector nickname that stuck. For years, it felt like an insider's choice. Then the allocation drought hit. Between 2020 and 2023, the Wimbledon was frequently the only date, just 41 in stock. Buyers who wanted any Datejust took it because there was nothing else. Reddit threads document this clearly, with owners admitting they settled rather than chose. The result is a configuration worn by people who love it and people who simply wanted a Datejust. Forum posts call it the ugliest configuration ever made, pointing to the mismatch between green Roman numerals and the baton marker at 9 o'clock. Others defend it loudly. That equal split is your problem. A watch dividing the room is not making the statement you think it is. Ubiquity killed the signal. The partnership is real. The exclusivity is not. Heavy supply is also the story at number 5, but with a flashier price tag attached. Number 5. Submariner Date Two-Tone. Reference 126613LN. The Submariner is the most iconic sports watch ever made. What is debatable is whether adding yellow gold to one in 2026 still communicates what you think it does. Here is what the rolls or finish conceals. The 126613LN is technically excellent. Caliber 3235, inside, ceramic bezel, 41mm case, built to Rolex's usual standard. The market just has too many of them. Chrono24 shows hundreds of listings. Unworn 2023 and 2024 examples between 14,000 and 18,000 euros, representing modest premiums over retail compared to the most coveted steel professional models. Supply is not constrained, and demand is not exceptional. Forum discussions consistently surface the same tension. Some call two-tone a vibe, others frame it as dated, associating Rolls or sports models with an older or nouveau riche aesthetic. In a watch community moving decisively towards stealth and understatement, maximum flash with minimum scarcity is a hard combination to defend. Gold on a dive watch used to say something. In 2026, it mostly asks a question the answer cannot support. Now we enter hype bubble territory. The next model proves a simple watch can become a very expensive cultural mistake. Number 4. Oyster Perpetual 41 Turquoise Blue, reference 124300. In 2020, the turquoise Oyster Perpetual 41 became the most talked about entry-level Rolex in a decade. Gray market prices exploded. The bubble looked permanent. It was not. Here's what the color conceals. The reference 124300 turquoise is a no-date, no complications steel watch with caliber 3230 inside. It is the simplest Rolex in the professional lineup. Retail reflected that. Secondary market pricing did not. It traded into the mid to high 20s in US dollars at peak. Analysts have documented a 30 to 35% pullback from peak prices on hype-driven Rolex references. The turquoise was discontinued around 2022, briefly spiking interest again. But a discontinued entry-level watch is not a grail. It is a reminder that you bought the moment, not the watch. When your entry-level Rolex costs more than a complicated Swiss movement, it stops looking casual and starts looking like a bad trade. The next watch costs considerably more and carries a different kind of identity problem entirely. Number 3. Yacht-Master 42. Titanium, reference 26627. Rolex made the Yacht-Master in titanium, matte, dark, aggressively tool-like. It was supposed to be the Yacht-Master for people who do not want a Yacht-Master. That contradiction has never fully resolved. Here is what the titanium finish conceals. Retail sits around $15,000. Secondary marketplaces at closer to $25,000. A 60% premium built on scarcity and material novelty. Analysts note secondary market volatility of nearly 6% on this reference, which is meaningful exposure. Enthusiast forums compare it unfavorably to Tudor's Pelagos, a similar dark and sporty aesthetic at a fraction of the price. Specific criticism focuses on the bezel, impressive in photographs, visually flat in person due to low contrast. The result is a watch caught between two worlds, priced like a precious metal piece, styled like a stealth tool watch, fully delivering on neither. Paying a stealth premium for a watch that watch people immediately recognize and quietly question is not a strategy. It is an expensive miscalculation. The next model was supposed to be the most joyful Rolex ever made. Instead, it became a case study in how quickly fun becomes overexposed. Number 2. The Oyster Perpetual Celebration Dial, references 124300 and 12600. In 2023, Rolex launched a dial covered in 51 colored bubbles. Playful, bright, deliberately unbothered. 2 years later, Rolex quietly discontinued every version. The resale market immediately doubled. Here is what the bubbles conceal. The celebration dial crossed the 31, 36, and 41mm Oyster Perpetual range. The design was genuinely original, a turquoise base with circular colored indices, the visual language of a party invitation on a Swiss movement. Critics called it childlike. Supporters called it liberating. Both were right, temporarily. The discontinuation at Watches and Wonders 2025 triggered exactly the spike that turns a personal choice into a status transaction. Prices moved to 3 times retail in some markets. The watch designed to reject Rolex seriousness became the most aggressively flipped Rolex of 2025. When your playful everyday watch is being traded as a speculative asset, the innocence has left the building. You wore it to be different. In 2026, it signals that you chased the TikTok bubble, literally and figuratively. And that brings us to number 1. This is the one that surprises, not because the watch is cheap, but because it sits at the very top of the Rolex catalog. The most prestigious model line the brand makes, worn by presidents and executives for over 60 years. And in 2026, one version of it has become the single most uncomfortable Rolex to have on your wrist. Number 1. Day-Date 36. Emoji Puzzle Dial. References: 128,238, 128,239, and 128,235. The Day-Date is the president watch. Gold always. President bracelet always. Authority communicated without a single word. At Watches and Wonders 2023, Rolex looked at that legacy and replaced the day and date with emojis. Here is what the jigsaw conceals. The puzzle dial Day-Date 36 came in yellow, white, and Everose gold, with multicolor Champlev dials divided into jigsaw pieces and rainbow sapphire hour markers. Where the traditional day display sits, 7 motivational words: happy, love, peace. Where the date would be, 31 emojis. Hodinkee noted the immediate problem. The watch no longer does what its model name says. Day gone, date gone, legibility gone. What replaced function is spectacle, a 6-figure gold watch engineered to go viral. And it did. Tom Brady wore one. GQ covered it. Fashion media exploded. Watch journalists were split between calling it genius provocation and evidence that Rolex had substituted shock value for substance. There was additional controversy when critics flagged the puzzle piece motif for associations the brand appeared not to have considered. Collectors who paid for the president's legacy found themselves owning a meme. In 2026, the puzzle dial Day-Date is the loudest watch in any room. That used to be a power move. You bought the president. You got a conversation piece. Those are not the same thing. The Day-Date built its reputation on quiet authority. This version trades authority for attention, and attention, unlike authority, has an expiry date. Most people assume the crown on the dial means the watch is working for them. These 8 references prove that the wrong model at the wrong moment works against you, regardless of what it cost. Like and subscribe for more.